Mark had been my best friend since high school, the kind of guy who showed up when nobody else did. He helped me move apartments, fixed my car, even drove hours when my dad died. If there was one person I trusted completely, it was him. When Emma got pregnant, Mark was the first person I told. He grinned, slapped my shoulder and said, "You're going to be a great dad." He joked about being Uncle Mark, already planning gifts for the baby. It felt good having someone who cared that much. But a few months later, things started to shift. Emma became distant, moody and quiet. Sometimes she cried for no reason. Sometimes she ignored me completely. I thought it was hormones, stress, maybe anxiety. Then one Saturday, Mark stopped by with pizza and beer. We watched the game like usual, laughing between plays. But during halftime, he asked if we could talk outside. His voice sounded strange, heavy, almost nervous. I followed him to the driveway, confused but calm. He rubbed the back of his neck and said, "I need to tell you something." The air felt colder suddenly. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Emma's been cheating on you." My brain froze, trying to make sense of the words. He said the guy's name was Ryan, someone she'd been seeing before the pregnancy. I just stood there, silent, feeling my stomach twist. He pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots of messages. They weren't long, but they were enough to crush me. One said, "He still thinks it's his. I feel bad, but it's easier this way." My chest went numb. My vision blurred for a second. Mark said Ryan told a friend he might be the father, but didn't want to be involved. He said he only found out because that friend came clean to him. Everything inside me shattered, but I didn't let it show. Mark said he debated telling me for days, but couldn't keep it to himself. He looked guilty, almost broken for being the messenger. I thanked him, barely able to speak. He said he had my back no matter what, like always. Then he hugged me, said, "You didn't deserve this." I nodded, numb, pretending I could still breathe. That night I sat alone in the dark, staring at my hands. Emma was sleeping inside, hand on her belly, peaceful like nothing was wrong. I wanted to scream, to wake her, to demand the truth. But I didn't. Instead, I decided to stay quiet. To wait. If she could lie that easily, then I could pretend too. I'd be the perfect boyfriend, until the moment she least expected it. Then I'd leave without a word. No fighting, no crying, just the truth dropped like a bomb. Mark texted me later, asking if I was okay. I said yes, even though I was. He told me to stay strong, that he'd help with whatever came next. And I believed him. Because even in that chaos, I still thought Mark was the only one on my side. After that night, something inside me changed. I didn't cry, didn't yell, didn't even confront Emma. I just went quiet, almost mechanical. It was like flipping a switch. If she could fake love, I could fake peace. I decided to play along until the end. Every morning, I smiled like nothing was wrong. I kissed her cheek, made her breakfast, rubbed her back. She thought I was the perfect boyfriend. But behind every gesture, I was taking notes. I started planning my exit carefully. I opened a new bank account under my name only. Every few days, I moved small amounts of money. 30 here, 50 there, never enough to raise suspicion. I labeled transfers as subscriptions or car maintenance. She never checked the statements anyway. I gathered all our shared documents into a folder. Bills, leases, tax forms, everything I'd need when I left. Then I started saving digital proof. I backed up every screenshot Mark had sent me. The messages, the timestamps, even voice memos. I hid it in a cloud folder named Work Receipts. Emma never noticed. While she napped, I searched her phone. Same passcode, same habits. But there was nothing. No messages from Ryan, no emails, no trace. It was spotless, too spotless. Almost like she'd wiped everything clean months ago. I didn't dig further. I already knew enough to walk away. but I still wanted her to believe everything was fine. I went to every doctor appointment, held her hand during ultrasounds, listened when she talked about baby names. She'd smile and say, "You're going to be such a good dad." I'd nod, pretending to believe it. Inside, I was empty. I didn't see a family anymore. I saw a countdown. The day she'd give birth would be the day I'd disappear. I even drafted a letter on my computer. It wasn't emotional, just factual. Dates, receipts, screenshots, every reason I had to leave. I titled it Closure. Sometimes I'd open it late at night, reading it over, editing details. It reminded me that I wasn't crazy, that I was doing what I had to do. Mark kept checking in. He'd text every few days, asking if I was holding up. He said he couldn't imagine how it felt. I thanked him for being there, for having my back. I didn't know that the knife was already in my spine. Weeks passed, and Emma's belly grew. We painted the nursery, set up the crib, folded tiny clothes. I smiled in every photo she posted. People said we looked perfect together. If only they knew the truth. At night, I'd lie awake beside her, counting the days. I wasn't waiting for the baby anymore. I was waiting for my freedom. And when that day came, she would finally learn how quiet revenge can be. The morning she went into labor felt unreal. She shook me awake around 4, saying her stomach hurt. I got up, grabbed the hospital bag, and drove in silence. She tried to make small talk, but my mind was blank. Every mile felt heavier than the last. At the hospital, the nurses smiled too brightly. They asked if it was our first child. Emma laughed, said yes, while I just nodded. They hooked her up to monitors, checked vitals, started the routine. Her mom showed up an hour later, packing the floor, anxious and proud. I sat in the corner, scrolling my phone, pretending to care. The hours dragged. She screamed, cried, squeezed my hand, and I played the part. I whispered encouragement, wiped her forehead, even smiled once. Inside, I felt nothing. The nurses kept saying, "Almost there." Finally, after what felt like forever, the baby came. A small cry filled the room, sharp and loud. Emma sobbed, saying he was perfect, her voice trembling with joy. They placed him on her chest, and she kissed his forehead. Everyone in the room was glowing. Everyone but me. I stood there, watching detached. I wasn't a father. I was a ghost in someone else's story. When they took the baby to another room for checks, things went quiet. Her mom left to call family, and we were alone. Emma looked at me, smiling through tears. "We did it," she said softly. That was my cue. I walked to the other side of the room and packed my bag. She frowned, confused. "Where are you going?" I didn't look up. I zipped the bag and said, "I know he's not mine." The air froze between us. She blinked, silent, color draining from her face. I turned around slowly and met her eyes. "You don't have to lie anymore. I know about Ryan." She opened her mouth, stammered something I didn't care to hear. "Call him," I said quietly. "Maybe he wants to sign the birth certificate." Tears filled her eyes. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. "Save it," I whispered. Then I walked out. Past the nurses, the balloons, the happy families. Out to the parking lot, where the air was cold and clean. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, hands shaking. Not from sadness, but relief. It was over. The life I thought I had was gone, and I didn't want it back. My phone started buzzing. Emma, her mom, her sister, all calling, begging. I turned it face down and drove away. At home, I cleaned everything. The baby clothes, the toys, the diapers, all gone. I threw the bare beanie into the fire pit and watched it burn. That night, I finally slept. No dreams, no guilt, just silence. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. The next few days passed like a blur. My phone never stopped buzzing. Dozens of missed calls, messages, and voicemails filled my screen. Emma begged for a chance to explain. Her mom called me heartless. I ignored every single one. I just needed space, silence, proof. So I booked a private paternity test. I didn't want drama, just confirmation. I emailed the clinic, gave them the details, and waited. They told me they'd need a sample from the baby. So I texted Emma for the first time since that day. "I'll take the test, meet me with the baby, one time." She replied almost instantly, desperate but hopeful. "Thank you, I'll be there." We met at a small testing clinic halfway between our places. She came in carrying the baby, trying to smile like nothing had happened. I couldn't even look at her. We sat in silence while the nurse took swabs. Emma kept trying to talk, asking if I was eating, sleeping, living okay. I stayed quiet. When it was over, I stood up and said, "I'll call you when I get the results." Her face fell, eyes wet, but I walked out without looking back. 3 days later, I got the email. 0% probability of paternity. Not even a question. The science made everything real. I forwarded the results to her, without a single word. A few hours later, she replied with paragraphs. She said she didn't know how it happened. She claimed it was one mistake, a long time ago. She said she was scared, that she thought I'd leave if she told me. She said she wanted to believe the baby was mine. Every sentence made me sick. I didn't respond. For a few days, things were quiet. Then the unexpected happened. Ryan took a test too. Word spread somehow, maybe through mutual friends. And Ryan's result came back negative. He wasn't the father either. That message hit me like a hammer. I sat staring at my phone, confused, numb all over again. If Ryan wasn't the dad, then who was? I asked Mark about it the next time he came over. He just shrugged, said maybe there was another guy. He laughed it off like it was nothing. I believed him. I shouldn't have. Emma tried again to reach out. She wrote a letter, left it in my mailbox. She said she missed me, that she wanted to talk like old friends. She even included a picture of the baby. I stared at it for a minute, then tore it up. I wasn't going to keep any piece of that lie. That night, I deleted her number for good. I thought it was the end of the story, that I could finally move on. But the truth wasn't done with me yet. It was still waiting, buried deep, getting ready to destroy everything I thought I knew. Months passed quietly after everything. The apartment felt bigger without her. I got back into my routines, work, gym, therapy. I told myself I was healing, finally moving on. Mark was around a lot, always checking on me. He brought beer, cracked jokes, helped me rearrange furniture. He said he just wanted to make sure I was okay. I thought he was a true friend. Until the signs started showing. Little things at first, nothing huge. He avoided eye contact when I mentioned Emma. He'd change the subject, get nervous, start fidgeting. I didn't think much of it until one Thursday night. I was cleaning old folders on my laptop, deleting useless stuff. There was a shared folder Emma had once made for baby plans. I hadn't opened it since everything fell apart. But curiosity hit me, and I clicked it. Inside was a hidden subfolder with no name. 2 photos sat there, uploaded recently. My chest tightened as the first one loaded. Emma sat on her mom's couch, holding the baby. Next to her was Mark, smiling like he belonged there. His arm rested behind her, casual, comfortable, intimate. It wasn't a random picture. It looked like a family photo. I opened the second image, hands shaking. It showed Emma's mom holding the baby, and Mark standing proudly beside her. That's when it all made sense. Why Ryan's test was negative. Why Mark had been the one to tell me about the cheating. Why he always seemed too eager to help. He wasn't protecting me. He was protecting himself. He was the father. The lies, the story about Ryan, all of it came from him. I sat frozen, the room spinning around me. I opened the old iCloud backup I had taken from Emma's phone. I hadn't checked it since the breakup, but now I needed answers. I dug through deleted messages, hidden folders, emails. Then I found it. A message from Mark to Emma months ago. It read, "I wish it didn't happen like this, but I can't stop thinking about that night." Another message below it made me stop breathing. "He doesn't know. He thinks it's Ryan. We'll get through this. I've got his back." My stomach dropped. My best friend had been sleeping with my girlfriend. He'd watched me build a nursery for his child. He'd held the tools, painted the walls, smiled in my face. I clenched my fists so tight they hurt. I didn't cry this time. I didn't scream. I just sat there in silence. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was clarity. Mark and Emma had used me as a shield, a story, a distraction. And now, the truth was sitting right in front of me. Every word he said, every comforting text, every laugh at my pain, it all made sense. They thought they had buried the secret. They thought I'd never find out. But I had. And for the first time since everything began, I wasn't broken anymore. I was ready. I gave myself 2 days to feel it. 2 days to let the anger settle deep enough to stay calm. Then I started planning again. This time, it wasn't about escape. It was about balance. Mark and Emma had taken everything from me. Now, I was going to take everything back. The first step was simple. Lex, Mark's on-and-off girlfriend, still had a key to his apartment. She wasn't just a fling. She was the one who baked cupcakes for our fake baby shower. I sent her screenshots from Emma's deleted messages. Mark telling Emma, "He thinks it's Ryan, we're safe." Emma replying, "I still feel bad, he's being so good about it." Lex didn't answer. 2 days later, I heard she dumped him and threw his things outside. That was a start. Next, I turned my attention to his job. He worked at a private school that bragged about morals and integrity. I wrote a polite, anonymous letter to 2 parents I knew through work. I explained that one of the staff had manipulated a domestic situation. No threats, no names, just enough truth to spread like fire. Within a week, Mark was quietly moved to a lower position. No more parent meetings, no leadership roles. He was stuck behind a desk, forgotten. He texted me once. "Why are you doing this? You said you wanted peace." I replied, "You said you were my brother." Then I blocked him. After that, I dealt with Emma. She had moved back in with her mom. I found out her mom still believed I abandoned her. So I fixed that lie too. I printed the paternity test and taped it to the back of a baby photo. On the bottom, I wrote one line. "Ask her who the father really is." I dropped it in the mailbox and walked away. 2 days later, Emma texted from a new number. "You've crossed the line. What did my family do to you?" I didn't reply. She crossed every line long before I did. But I wasn't finished yet. I still had access to one of her old accounts. A shared credit link from when we built her credit. I canceled every auto payment tied to my name. Insurance, utilities, even her streaming accounts. I didn't take her money. I just took her comfort. Let her sit on hold with customer service while the baby cried in the background. Let her feel what chaos really was. Months passed, and everything crumbled around them. Mark's career stalled. Emma was couch hopping, her mom caring for the baby most days. I heard through mutual friends that they weren't even together anymore. The perfect pair had finally broken each other. And me. I slept. For the first time in years, my mind was quiet. Therapy helped, work got better, life felt normal again. I started seeing someone new. She didn't know the full story, not yet. Because that version of me, the man who got destroyed and rebuilt, he didn't need to tell it anymore. He'd already closed the book. Time moved quietly after everything ended. The noise, the anger, the chaos, all gone. I woke up one morning and realized I wasn't angry anymore. Just empty in a peaceful way. The apartment no longer felt haunted. It felt mine again. The walls that once heard lies now echoed silence. I kept busy, rebuilt my savings, focused on work. Therapy turned from pain management to clarity. I stopped asking why it happened. Some answers don't heal you. They just keep you trapped. Mark disappeared from my life completely. Emma stayed silent too. Maybe guilt finally caught up to them. Maybe life just did what it always does, moved on. I met someone new. She laughed easily, trusted slowly, and never asked about my past. For the first time in a long time, that was enough. I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't need closure. I already had both. They thought they broke me. But all they did was burn away the parts that were too soft. What was left wasn't bitter. It was free. And that freedom was worth every scar they gave me.